Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill Neiman's Bogus Hangout. I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves. Zara, will you start, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Zara Altier. I write for the web for my clients.
Thomas?
Hi, Thomas Ickle, founder of Blueprint Marketing and MTI Polyx Corporation.
Steve?
Steve Grincher with Web Narwhal now.
With where?
Web Narwhal. The sign behind Doc's
Web
head.
Narwhal. See that up there?
Oh, okay. Doc, will you tell us more about this Web Narwhal?
Doc Sheldon here of Intrinsic Value SEO, Deep SEO Conference, and along with Steve and our other cohort, a co-founder of Web Narwhal. We're a digital marketing company that is going to offer multi-CMS and custom websites, as well as even hosting, marketing services, SEM, SEO, design, a total stack. And we're just in the process of launching this week.
Congratulations.
Total insanity, you know.
Yep.
Is that with Mr. Morris?
No,
No.
I maybe answered that a little too fast.
You introduce yourself, Terry.
Terry Van Horn, Toronto, Ontario, retired SEO.
And I'm Bill Slawski of SEO by the Sea and the Director of SEO Research for GoFish Digital. I've been working on putting together a presentation for tomorrow for some Central European conference, SEO Czars.
SEO czars. All right.
Yeah.
Do you all have jeweled crowns?
I didn't put the T is missing. I didn't put that together.
Uh-oh, you forgot something.
It's SEOZRAZ. I didn't put that together.
Uh-oh, you forgot.
So how's everybody doing?
Good.
Great.
Lost power last night and just got it back about 2 or 3 hours ago.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, morning was kind of not really anything happening.
It doesn't sound good. My washing machine died last night.
Oh, no.
Halfway through a load of clothes.
Of course. With lots of water in the tub. And yeah,
Right.
I know. Well, I had that happen once. It's not fun.
Well, I'm getting new washing machine this weekend.
There must be something in the water because this afternoon when I was loading the fuel tank into the truck for a fuel run for the tractors, the bottom end of the hydraulic system in the forklift blew out, and I dumped 4 gallons of hydraulic fluid in the driveway.
Ooh,
Almost dropped the tank on the back of my truck, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna take a nap. Take a nap.
Second Monday of the week.
Yep.
Ooh, that's horrible.
It sounds like good plan.
Yep.
Naps are critical.
More and more.
So
Any kitty can tell you that.
So Terry, I see implied links made the news today.
Well, it was on Facebook. There wasn't much interesting in the news this week, so I had to go a little bit further in my exploration.
This is the first
But
time
I
I've seen
remembered
Facebook.
that was actually one of the best things I've read in a while. Mainly because, it straightened out some people's stupid, who started that, Rand?
Yeah.
That implied links were a ranking factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, links on Google are going to affect your ranking. Like, no critical thinking at all. Like, anybody with half a brain would think Google is not going to count that in the rankings. Like,
So it started out as people writing that the patent had mentioned brand mentions, and
Mhm.
these links with these unlinked mentions had ranking value.
of course, because they're co-occurrences.
Except the patent doesn't mention brands once.
Yeah, you're right.
And the patent was won by Navneet Panda, and it was about quality scores and how to calculate quality scores.
Right, which he was part of the Panda thing, and quality scores were brought in with Panda. But also, if you, like, once again, if you sat down and think about it, right, it's about links on Google that are in special operators, right?
No, it could be just links without HTML, so you don't have the hrefs.
Right. But it was also talking about operator searches on Google, like,
No, the patent didn't talk about site operators. There's another quality score patent that talked about site operators, but that one didn't.
Okay. But it was mentioned in that discussion as if it was part of that paper. Or that's how I read it anyhow.
So that was so totally beside the point. It didn't even bear mentioning, didn't bear writing about. I was the first one to write about that patent, and I didn't ignore that, but I maybe spent half a sentence on it.
Right.
You can't suppose that thinking is involved with the majority of the folks in our industry, Terry, because that kind of precludes the vast majority of them.
Well,
They're parents. They're not thinkers, they're parents.
Choir. Preaching to the choir, Doc.
I know. No, I mean, basically you just got a bunch of people parroting whatever their hero of the day said, whether it be Rand or Neil Patel or some other knothead.
Willing to say anything for
publicity. Yep.
But those kind of mentions have been found by Google even before just brands. I remember in the old days in my site visibility reports, I would go to Google and do a search for the URL, and often found that they were counting that as a link, or counting that in the, that it was seen as a link because Matt Cott said so. But in that discussion yesterday, what's his name? Jim Boykin mentioned that he'd seen those kind of links in his linking reports, which would infer that Google sees it as a external link.
Yeah,
it's not quite the way HTML works.
Well, to me, it makes sense, because why would you leave the href off of a link? Because you don't want people to leave the site easily.
You don't
That's
want
the
to,
only
you don't
reason
want to, you don't want to provide a link to it.
Pardon me?
You don't want to provide a link to it.
Right. That's the only reason you would do that. So Google would have to say to itself, well, why are they doing that? Because they're pricks. And count it as a link.
Except we know that the surface of the earth is covered with bricks.
Yep. Densely packed.
It's just the way the population is built.
Yeah.
Well, how many years have we been talking about the confusion that exists in a lot of people's minds about the difference between an implied link and a citation and a co-occurrence? I mean, again, so one person of any notoriety says something and half the world jumps on the bandwagon and starts repeating it, and pretty soon everybody believes it.
That's why there's so many myths that are all perpetuated by the community.
Most patents use words in their own definitions. They provide their own definitions for the terms.
Yep.
Like if Google writes a patent about content, they don't mean the content of a website, they mean the content of an advertisement. So if you see Google patent with the word content in the title, it's about advertisements most likely. Because they're all about advertisements when they're about content. So if Navneet Panda writes about quality scores, the title of the patent was Ranking Search Results. And you start reading it and you get to an advantage part and it says, if we decrease quality scores of pages so they don't show up in search rankings, we're benefiting pages that have higher quality scores because they do show up in search rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So the only ranking was not to get a low quality score.
How important do you think it is the site that is visited after, if it's not Google, the most common site visited after your site? If you have people going to example.com instead of google.com. I know most people go to Google after most sites, but I'm talking about like when traffic leaves your site.
When they leave the site and then they go back to Google, is that what you're saying?
That's pretty bad if they do that. But like if they go to another site that you know of or another site that you control.
You don't necessarily know.
Yeah,
SEMrush has a traffic tool for like $200 that shows you that data.
There's lots of reasons to go back to a search engine after reading a post. Lots of them.
Plus you can click a bookmark or you can type something in the web address bar of the browser.
Right. Yeah.
And SEMrush isn't going to tell you what those are.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
So the only people know are the people who own Chrome
Google.
and other browsers.
Yeah.
Or Mozilla, right.
Yeah, Mozilla, Apple, Google, and yep. So
And
anyway,
as far as you know, they're not doing something nefarious with that data like that. Avast was,
yeah, Vast was bad, and they did all that. So the October update seems like it was a pretty large one, or it's going to become something pretty large, just Flux.
They haven't been talking too much about it.
It doesn't seem to impact anything I'm looking at.
There was an October update.
That's the rumor.
There was a lot.
You mean there was a lot of flux in the results and somebody said it was an update?
Right.
That's
And
normal. When
a
are these people going to realize? I read the article. It's in our list today. Literally for 2 months, every weekend except for 3, there's been a so-called major update.
And there are tools on some of these third-party SEO sites that say there are algorithmic updates happening right this moment as we speak.
Yeah, well, they're comparing apples to oranges, because if they're using as a basis for what goes as bad weather or, a bad, an update.
Mhm.
The algorithm has changed so much in the last 2 years. A base that was established 2 years ago is useless.
And the web is in a constant flux of change.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why I've never put any stock whatsoever in those tools. I remember when Searchmetric, Dave and I were working for them, they called what was called a pony update, right? And Dave and I said, don't publish that because it's not an update. It's just a lot of flux. Sure enough, we were right. They had to pull back on that. But it,
Well,
just because some tool says there's a lot of flux doesn't mean
Yeah.
there's been an update.
no, I agree with that.
That's nonsense. Now, I actually posted on Twitter that I'm tired of reading this stuff. Every week I go to search, to the search engine roundtable. You see the same nonsense. Some suspected update. Out of the ones he's called, one has been true.
Yeah, it's this huge Google search algorithm update on
Right.
October 2nd and 3rd.
Google
Yeah.
announces a major search update.
That's true.
So it's part of the reason why I like reading patents, because I actually get some insight into some actual algorithms and things that are changing or potentially changing. Because you never know whether or not something. So I finished writing a blog post yesterday that was about getting contextual information about a query, additional stuff other than just search results. So it would be additional search results. And was holding down a button on a mobile device longer would trigger the return of that type of result.
Really?
I don't know if we'll see it happen, but it sounds interesting.
So you hold down a certain button on your phone and it.
And you get more results.
Oh, that's interesting. So you get
Sort of
more
like-
than the top 10 or whatever they're showing.
Right. You get additional contextual information. Sort of like when you press the 3 dots next to a search result these days.
Yep. You get to see yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'll think about that and I'll keep it in mind and keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I think improvements like that are welcome. I mean, anyone that, if you can just have it so that you hold down a button longer or click something simple on a mobile device, it makes sense to do it like that.
And Google's done some strange stuff.
Yeah.
Like remember instant results?
Yep.
Where you start seeing results as soon as you start typing in the search box?
Yep.
And they would change as you typed.
Yeah, it looks like with Mom they might go back to this. I don't know if they're going to go back to that, but they'll have like a filter or a list of other results that you could type in that might better fit your intent.
They've been talking about a shopping graph for Mom.
Yeah.
Sort of like a product graph for Amazon.
Yep. That would be a cool add-on.
Mom just basically turns a listing into a mashup, right? Takes different information from different places, puts it all in one result.
So far from what they've described, they haven't used it in too much detail.
Oh, we'll see it soon. It's due next week.
There was one that came out already on vaccination names. And it came out like 2 months ago or so.
Yeah, there was 4 or 5 things that were mentioned in the last Google Webmasters update, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Where they talk about what changes they're gonna make in the near future, And there's a couple that are coming out in 2 weeks, mostly related to Mom.
Mm.
Anything to do with Google Lens?
If there was,
Yeah.
that's one of the things. Like if I don't really follow that topic on Google, it's like a banner blindness. You know what I mean?
Or you're supposed to be able to drop your finger if this is your phone, and then have it drop on the link that you want it to. You can use Lens to do that, or search the SERPs even. I've heard about that. Quite a lot of news.
There's more search by photography.
Yeah.
Like you take a photograph of a restaurant, and search results give you reviews of that restaurant.
Yeah, no, that's great. Especially if it connects with the GPS and can tell that you're in front of that actual restaurant.
Yeah, that was one they patented. They talked about stuff like statues or points of interest. You take a photograph of a point of interest, and Google can give you search results about that place.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, so you can know the history of why there's a statue there.
Or if you're in front of a restaurant in a foreign country, you've never eaten there, you have no idea what the food's like or anything, you take a picture of the place, they'll show you the menu translated.
That's great. That's actually
Wow,
really
that's
useful.
amazing.
That is good.
No more snails for me. So I guess I ended up eating snails, really. So, I know escargot, but I wasn't in France.
So they show them the menu without prices or with prices?
I don't work there. I don't.
Oh, okay.
It'll probably vary on the place, how much
I
information
was
you
thinking
give
about being in France, and I went with my daughter and her husband. We went to a restaurant, and he got a menu with prices, and we got menus without prices.
Some restaurants don't include prices on the food.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there are resorts around here that do that.
Well, I know we had a friend that's got a restaurant down here, and they have, obviously they have their menu in Spanish, but they also have some English menus, and they deliberately don't put prices on their English menus because their prices may change, and it's a lot more work and expense for them to print 2 sets of menus. So they just have a little bulletin board up on the wall for the current prices, and they said they're going to take the prices off the Mexican menu too, so they just have it up there on the wall, just to avoid having to update those things when the costs go up.
Yeah, having like a border that just shows the updated prices, and then you can just look in the menu and see what you want.
But for a long time, only their Spanish menus had prices in it, because they didn't want to have to reprint them both. And they didn't get that many gringos in, I suppose.
Yeah, most of the restaurants I've been to that don't show prices on the menu, it's because the prices are absurd.
It causes you to lose your appetite.
Yeah.
Yeah, one I was thinking of is a golf course. It's a resort, and they don't put the prices next to the menu because they bill your room.
But if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
You get a surprise at the end of your trip.
Yeah, you got to check out, and yeah, I always take a hotel and say it's going to be 3 times the price, just to make sure that you don't try to get too surprised at the end of the trip. They add taxes and their fees.
So Terry,
Go ahead.
Terry, you wrote an article on Extension Roundtable. Google hints it will begin interlinked link schemes. It will penalize interlinked link schemes. What is an interlinked
Since
link
2012 at least.
Yeah.
I don't get it, you know.
Are we talking? Are we talking web tables? Oh wait, web links. What are those?
Link wheels. That's where you have all these different sites that you're linking, and they all then link to a money page. Been around forever.
Like I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I don't know much about it because, never been stupid enough to try it.
Like
I get
gateway
what
page, doorway.
PBNs would fall into that category too, wouldn't they?
Pardon me?
I say, wouldn't a PBN
Same
follow
deal,
that the same category?
probably. Yeah.
And some
All that
bloggers,
stuff.
some bloggers were joining blog carousels, where they would
Mhm.
run posts linking to all the other blogs and stories in them.
Can we just
Like
go back to
Facebook.
web rings? I miss those.
There you go.
Web wings were a little bit different, though.
But they were awesome. How
They
else,
were.
how else did you find
They
out?
were needed before there was really good search engines,
Yeah.
which is when they came about.
And then search engines turned all the people who cooperated with each other into competitors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't understand a lot of the stuff that's get published these days, Like, if you don't know that Google is penalizing that kind of stuff, you shouldn't be charging money. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or if you are, you should be charging less. I put it like that. Charge according to your knowledge. Because there are customers who need that too. Not everyone needs a $10,000 a month SEO. In fact, I can't think of too many sites that need that kind of SEO. But there's lots of mom and pop shops that, $300 or $400 a month is all they can afford. And a good SEO can use that kind of budget and over time make headway. He's not going to turn things around tomorrow, but with time, he can.
Well, somebody's got to pay the rent, the mortgage, the meals.
Yeah.
You've got to charge enough to afford to be in business.
It's
The time
true.
is 3:30
Hey, Google,
PM.
stop.
Let's go grab a glass of water. And why don't you go wash
Hey,
your
stop.
hands?
Sorry about that.
You have a British Google?
Yeah, it had me pick the voice, and I let it. I chose the British voice for some reason. I don't even remember setting it up, but I'm pretty sure I must have done that. I got the other one with the screen in the other room, which is really cool as well. But this one here is much better than the other one.
They don't talk to each other, do they?
Sometimes, yeah. If this one starts going off with the the things, and sometimes that one will, if I'll tell it to be quiet, then the other one will start listening, and then they'll start going back and forth with each other. Yeah, they've done that quite a bit because say sorry, I can't help you with that, and then it will keep saying stuff, and it'll just keep saying other words for I can't help you with that, or it's just
So my speaker tells me it'll send stuff for me to look at on my phone.
Yeah, mine too. If it can't find that, or if it finds like a certain thing, it'll like hear more information on your phone.
Yeah. So it's making work for my phone.
Yeah. Increasing your bill at Verizon or AT&T or whoever you use.
It's called e-delegation, Bill.
That's what it is. Okay.
Well,
That
I
makes
thought it
sense.
was interesting when I was driving from Southern California up to Oregon, that Google Maps at that point in time regionalized the voice on Google
Really?
Maps. So when I was in Southern California, I got what I call the soccer mom voice. And then as I got to Northern California and up into Oregon, I got the sedated housewife voice. And I did nothing, was Google. So now you're here, I'm going to give you this voice.
I wonder what you would have gotten if you were driving into Meridian, Mississippi.
I have no idea.
No, nothing intelligible, I can assure you.
That's interesting.
George is the hardest accent for me to understand. Deep Georgia South accent.
My fiance is Ukrainian. She can't understand a British accent for some reason. Just can't do it very well. She can understand it, but not as well as an American.
When I was in Scotland, I had a really difficult time understanding people were saying.
Ireland, Scotland, yeah.
Scottish
Yeah.
accents are tough.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, they were speaking English. That was tough.
Core Web Vitals report, I guess, is adding more granular scores.
Yeah, look at that.
Are those related to sports?
It's
But
yeah,
like Terry,
World Cup coming up.
but like Terry said, for the very few sites that have enough traffic to see
Right.
that report.
Is that accurate? Like, I think I've seen I've seen one or two Search Console reports where there's nothing there.
Yeah, I don't get enough traffic on any of my own sites.
I don't
We got a
either.
couple client sites that do, but I don't even remember what the threshold is. But if you're not getting enough traffic, it's just going to show you, sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah,
So
then you
like
have to go.
so like in Google Trends.
Yeah. Except I think their threshold is a lot lower.
I think you
Seems
can always go.
Sticking in my mind, it seems to me it's like 10,000 visits a month, I think, might be the threshold, if I remember correctly. Which, trust me, I'm not getting.
You can always go to PageSpeed Insights if you want to test your get your score there.
Yeah.
But you're right, if it's not enough traffic. I think it's more like 4,000 or 5,000 visits, or it might be unique. I don't know if it's what the number's based on.
I don't
It's
recall.
based on Chrome use.
Yeah, the field data is.
So you need 4,000, 5,000 Chrome users to visit your
Chrome
site.
visits, huh? Okay.
I have ClickFarm.
It's sort of moving into Alexa territory.
Really?
Yeah. You remember having an Alexa toolbar?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And you were very popular because you had the plug-in for Alexa on your toolbar?
They told you that in some of the documentation. If you buy our whatever paid thing, you'll go up. It's like, what's the point of this?
Right.
Just count
Why
when they crawl
are
your
all
site.
why are these people from South Korea visiting my website?
Yeah.
If Core Web Vitals gets more granular, that's a good thing in my opinion, because there's some stuff on there that's hard to diagnose. You know, for especially like CLS score where things moving around. I'm not very good at CSS, so.
Have you used Wappalizer, Thomas?
To compare different products? Is that
To look at your CLS, where your issues are on a page with
No.
CLS.
Wappalizer? Is it W-A?
Yeah, Wappalizer. It's you can add it to your Chrome as a bookmarklet, and it's just you can pull up a page, run that, and then it'll show you what items shifted and how much.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually was looking at that page earlier today to compare Fastly to CloudFront, but I didn't know it did all that too. That's really cool. Thank you.
But yeah, it'd be nice to see GSC get a little bit more granular.
Yeah. If it can give out that type of data where you can actually see every single problem, that'll be an amazing breakthrough. Or if it even starts going for sites that have less traffic, that would be a big increase as well. Help people out. Because I'm sure that most people without that amount of traffic they probably don't test it separately.
Which is probably the vast majority of the internet,
Yeah. And like companies like GT Metrics have their stuff set up to test a desktop, and that's not the majority of the people are on mobile now. So
It is a very different experience from desktop to mobile.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Vastly.
So you collect a lot more junk on your mobile device, a lot more apps, a lot more personalized stuff.
Yeah, that thing probably knows everything. I mean, it knows who you're calling. It knows what you're saying. Think about how much information that device has. It knows where you are, if you're keeping in your pocket.
And you've got GPS turned on?
Yeah. I went through Google a long time ago. I had to change some settings, and I could see like my entire history where I was a year ago on that day. Like I could go back GPS wise. It would show me like where I was driving, certain hotels I stayed at, and where I flew in. I arrived at an airport at a certain time. I was like, wow.
You on an Android or iPhone, Thomas?
iPhone. But I think I was using Google.
It's Google. Google does that. I've forgotten how you get there, but it keeps track of every place you've been.
Yeah, even without me using its navigation, because
if you use other apps that use navigation, you're still using GPS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think with Apple it might not let that happen, but I think there's a button where you tell Google you can do. I think it's default on, but you can say you can turn it off or on.
I think that's one of those apps where when you first start using it, it asks you if it's okay if it does that.
Yeah, it's probably in the TOS.
So it's not default on, and it is an explicit statement that you respond to.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't mind it so much. I mean, I know Google pretty much knows everything about. I'm kind of an open book for them, so yeah. I don't necessarily mind it that much. I don't even mind if they make ads for me. Like that's not considered. I don't consider it annoying, but I can see how other people would not like that information given out, and especially with those new information about Google giving a lot of data over to the government. Certain queries trigger. And a lot of it's for good things, like stopping child pornography or things that we'd all want stopped. But I think they go probably a little bit past just the really bad stuff.
Well, yeah.
Are you familiar with federated machine learning?
No.
So Google collects your data about your search results and search selections and so on, and saves that up every morning and sends it up to the cloud. And then you get a response back. You get more data. Personally identifiable information is removed from it, but you get the cloud benefit of combined information from multiple people. So you get information from people who are similar to you, who may have similar likes and affinities and dislikes.
That makes sense. So it can give you recommendations for things that it thinks you might like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And it's definitely been doing that stuff for a long time.
So it's doing machine learning on your own device.
Yeah.
Or at least collecting the data and send it up to Google to put together and send it back to you.
Yeah, one of the big things that I noticed that really tracked were hotels and airports. Like, so, get off the plane at BOS, and if the first thing you do is turn your plane on the Wi-Fi again, and then or your phone back on if you have your phone on airplane mode. Make sure but it tells you the length of your flight. You can figure out a lot of data, and then I did a U-turn at some hotel I didn't even stay at, and told me I stayed there before, and I was like, I don't remember that. But I turned around the parking lot, I guess. I looked at the thing. It shows me just doing a circle.
Am I the only one here that has zero confidence that even though you opt out of like, say, geolocation or tracking, that Google actually honors that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they care.
Or anybody else, or Facebook, or basically anybody out there that's gathering that kind of information. I don't put a lot of stock in it.
There's a non-zero chance of that.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I may be a little bit too jaundiced, but I'd rather err on the side of caution. I don't automatically believe it. Just because they say, if you opt out, we will not track you. Yeah, right. That's why you tracked me for the last 15 years without saying boo about it.
Google has been called out for Street View cars grabbing people's Wi-Fi passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Grabbing passwords, yeah, that's not a...
Somebody who was driving the Street View car decided to do that as a hobby.
Oh.
Ooh.
That's never a good thing. Gosh. So it wasn't a mandate from Google, it was actually the guy driving the car, but...
Yeah,
Right.
a rogue employee.
Google employee.
That's nice, Phil. This is something I'll put it on the main chat as well, but it talks about keyword warrants that they're calling them now from Google, where they actually can get a warrant based on what you search. So as you can imagine, it's something pretty bad.
Yeah, but come on, who doesn't order plastic explosive just before Halloween?
Yeah. Or a 4th of July thing, but
have to start buying mine in June now, I guess.
They're not
I'll let you know what happens with my 6-hour holster searches.
I'm sure they put it all together with everything, and then
God.
Yeah, Werner Vinge, who teaches math at UCSD and writes science fiction, wrote about the Google Stanford book scanning project. And he also talked about how the police were getting warrants for advertisements shown on people's search results. Not for the search results and what they searched for, but what advertisements were shown on those results.
wow.
And they're getting you get advertisements that are supposed to be relevant
Yeah.
search results. So if Google can, if somebody can show that Google is serving you certain search results that may prejudice you somehow.
Wow.
Well, we've got an awful lot of Americans that have been influenced by less in their thinking, so that may not be all that far out to sea.
That's true. Yeah, they said. I mean, I would have thought if I knew they were kind of doing this, but I guess like Google would identify people that even sexual assault victims, according to Forbes.
And what?
If like someone was a victim of sexual assault, they would actually be identified by Google, which is not a good thing at all. Here's the.
So what does Google do with that information?
I don't know. Probably.
There's only so much you can do with that information.
Yeah, exactly. It's. I don't think it's good that they're actually taking that information. I don't know why a private company would.
I sort of question that they are.
It's what Forbes says. In the second,
I trust Forbes
yeah,
a lot.
very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're the pinnacle of integrity, journalistic integrity, you bet.
They don't believe in plagiarism.
No.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Like Forbes is not the most reliable source of information.
Forbes is a stellar institution.
Also, a great place to buy links.
Yeah.
You trying to keep from getting sued, Bill?
I've had my copyright infringed by people at Forbes before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Forbes is famous for that. I mean, if anyone wants you can get yourself put on the, you can get a mention on there pretty easily. I'm sure you've had a lot of stuff infringed on, yeah. But I mean, I don't know if they did it by mistake or if they did it on purpose, but I could see them making that mistake. If they have so much information, if they want to find out who somebody is and they're working with law enforcement, that would be easy to do.
After a guy copied something I wrote, put it on Forbes, and I contacted the editor, the response I got from the editor was, "You two deserve each other."
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it was a shady author and a shady editor.
Wow. That's insane.
Well, shady editors, their philosophy and practices come from the top. You know, when you find any employee of any company willing to pull that kind of crap, it's because they know they can get away with it, and that comes from upstairs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Apparently, the Electronic Frontier Foundation is the one that is the source for all this. So it might be legitimate.
They're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
I gotta wonder, you know, when the FBI or some other law enforcement agency presents a warrant to Google, let's say we want to see any searches you've had for improvised explosive devices over the last 90 days. Okay? Okay, well, Doc Sheldon did a search for IEDs here last week. How much information do they want on Doc Sheldon? Just show us the search query and the results of that query? Or birth date, address, phone number, and past lovers? You know, I mean, how much information are they trying to get
Probably just enough to rule
that
you
warrant?
out. I don't
They
think
want to know how many times you've purchased the Anarchist Cookbook.
Yeah.
Never
Mine
feel
was-
it.
I'm good there. Mine was a gift. Boy, my Uncle Sonny is going to be in deep shit, though.
You think about it, that's a book that everyone knows of, and somebody probably has like quite a few of copies of, and I mean all that data is out there. But if you search it, and then like I think they reference the Boston Marathon bombings and real crimes like that are obviously they should use whatever tools they have. But I think if it starts getting bad is if they start connecting to your GPS with, let's say, traffic violations or whatever, like smaller things that aren't really important to security or aren't going to
From experience, I would say that virtually any law enforcement agency, if they're able to get a judge to sign a warrant to give them information, they're going to try to get as much information as they possibly can, whether it be relevant to the investigation at hand or not. If they think you're a person of interest or a suspect, they want to know what your passing grade was in elementary school. They want everything they can get because it
They
all
have to list
could.
every single thing that they want, though, in the warrant.
It really
Well, not
opened
necessarily.
it really opened my eyes when I got a speeding ticket in Virginia on Route 95. I was within a week. I got postcards from at least 12 different lawyers who wanted to get me off on that charge.
Wow.
Whoa.
For $99. I
Yeah,
paid
who's
one.
selling them that information, huh?
I-
Because that's
I
not
paid-
publicly available.
Right, I paid one of them $99. I got my moving violation turned into a non-moving violation.
Wow.
That violation that you were issued, I would assume that that was not publicly available information.
It was whoever purchased
How did
that.
they get it?
You'd have
No,
to
but
use
I
a
mean,
scanner to make it public information.
So,
right?
so the DMV in California made $100 million last year selling data.
That
Oh,
makes
geez.
sense.
Who's buying that data? I'm sure that
Well,
happens in every state.
insurance companies, finance companies,
Yeah,
the,
that's something.
the
to think.
attorneys.
Private
attorneys,
investigators.
obviously, yeah.
The attorneys? Yeah.
But if you're, I mean, I guess your insurance company gets that information regardless. But imagine if you get an offender bender and you don't want to turn that into the insurance company. I guess if the police are called, you're supposed to be able to opt out. They'd probably take it.
This is why I like living where I live, because we still don't have computers in our police cars. They handwrite you paper tickets, and that's it. And it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Wow.
And when you go to court, she puts it in a filing cabinet with the other 7 from that year.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So they can actually rip up a ticket still. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
they sure can. And they will if you're local.
Yeah, most police forces treat you a lot better the closer you are to them.
Each one of our little towns in the area is all of them are less than 500 or 600 people. And they all have a police department of about 3 people who do nothing but write tickets all day long. And
That's
if you're from the little town, they just point at you and you slow down. But if you're from the next town over, you get a ticket.
That's exactly what happens here in Newcastle with 800 people. We have 3 cops and they don't care as long as you're from here. Like, I actually got apologized to by getting pulled over. I was shocked at that.
What's
Okay.
really nice. Like my
Everybody
dad's been
knows
here
your
often
name.
now.
Yeah, they're like, super nice about everything.
Yeah, they but like my dad's been here often enough in the RV. When he pulls into town, they know he's in town, and treat him like he's local.
But everyone else they give a ticket to, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
The only time it gets bad is when the state troopers decide they want to police our neighborhoods, and we make their lives miserable. Fun. Well, you would think that, but every once in a while we've got a spot that goes to 20 mile an hour from 50.
Jeez.
For obvious reasons. And they'll have a state trooper on a motorcycle, and he'll just go back and forth on that 20 mile an hour strip all day long writing out tickets.
Yeah.
And usually what winds up happening is one of the local police pulls up and engages him in conversation so he can't write tickets. Because basically, they look at it as the state coming in and taking their funding away from them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those state tickets are salty. The local tickets are like $75, and if you get one from the state, it's like $275.
I got pulled over for taking a left on Tuesday through Thursday between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And it's all written on this little.
You in New Jersey?
No, I was in Florida. In Winter Park, Florida, there's a street says you can't take a left between these certain days. And the cop repeated to me, I go, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "I'll let you go on this one." But he was nice about it. But like, told me not to take a left there anytime.
It's why there's so many jug handles in New Jersey. So you don't take lefts on highways.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. This is just a small road that it's amazing. There were about 8 cars pulled over when I got pulled over, and the person in front of me was somebody I knew, and they asked me if I knew them. I thought the guy was going to let me off because he saw the "Live Free or Die" and got a kick out of that license plate. And so I said, "No, I don't know the person in front of me," and they got a ticket.
Like last week when we went to Nashville, I found out that certain roads at a certain time in the evening go from a 2-way road to a 1-way road.
Yeah.
And there's no signs. There's nobody to tell you this has happened. We drove into town to go to a concert, pulled into a parking lot. Concert was over, got out of the parking lot, turned right, and went following the car in front of us. So we went like 100 feet, and now we're trying to figure out how to do a U-turn in the middle of a road full of traffic and pedestrians. And oh my God, what a nightmare. And it's like, and somebody goes, well, everybody knows that. It's like, well, obviously not everybody knows that. Because that guy did it,
Wow.
I did it, the guy behind me did it.
There's
You know,
no
at
like
least there should be a sign that says,
temporary.
There
at,
should be
you
a
know,
sign that says,
at
yes.
7 p.m., this becomes a one-way road going that way.
Yeah.
And nope, no such thing.
We have that here in the summertime. One road turns into a one way, but they put temporary thing up.
I've seen no
Sign
left
now?
turn signs in Toronto on streets where downtown, where between 3 and 5 or 3 and 6, when people are getting out of their offices, they have to make a left-hand turn. It backs up traffic to where it stops the people that are going.
So, Steve, there's no signs. You just have to divine that it's one way at this particular time.
You kind of figure it out. And
Whoa.
like
When all the cars are coming at you, you gotta think.
Yeah, I guess so.
pretty much. Well, you know, and it's funny because like the parking, you pull into the parking and it's all automated, pay with your phone kind of stuff. But there's always somebody walking around the parking lot going, oh no, they're all broken. You just pay me today. And they just take your money, and then you get a ticket for illegal parking. Or they go around and put red bags over the parking meters and tell you the meter's busted.
Right, yeah.
And then you pull in and park, and then when you're gone, they pull the bag off, and somebody comes up and writes you a ticket. Because that's all parking enforcement. That's not police enforcement. That's a different issue entirely. Oh my God, it is a nightmare in Nashville if you want to park downtown. That city was never meant for the kind of traffic it has these days.
Yeah, a lot of cities were built that way without any idea of getting bigger.
Yeah. About the only ones that seem to be having fun are the tractors pulling trailers full of bachelorette parties, and all the girls are getting ripped, and the guy driving the tractor's just driving in circles around downtown. It is only Nashville could do something like that. Ladies.
You haven't been to New Orleans lately, I can tell.
Well, yeah, but they don't drive down the middle of the road with tractors.
I know I was amazed in New Orleans when everybody in the car was drinking except the driver, and it was legal. As long as the driver wasn't drinking, everybody else could be drinking.
Oh, I'll give you one better than that, sir. When I left Texas, it was still legal. I could drive down the road with a bottle of Jack Daniels up to my mouth. And if a trooper decided to stop me, as long as I blew less than a .1, I was okay. I could drive. They had drive-through windows at the liquor stores. You could get what do you call? You get a cup of ice, a throwaway cup of ice, and a canned martini or a canned cocktail.
Whoa.
And put it right there, drop the empty can in the bag outside the drive-up window, and drive off with it. As long as you didn't blow a .1, you were legit. Now, they've done away with that now. Now you cannot be driving while drinking. But your passenger can, is what I'm told.
New Mexico has something similar with their drive-through liquor stores. You can pull up to a window and get a cold 40-ounce, and it's like, okay, yeah. I'm driving up to a drive-through liquor store, a cold beer. What are the odds that's going to make it home?
Yeah.
Especially when I was about one.
Yeah, it's incredible, some of the laws in certain states. That's Mexico, though, right?
So I've seen drive-through liquor stores in Florida.
Yep. Still got those.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen too many other places.
They say don't drink and drive when you drive through. Yeah, they have a sign that says don't drink and drive. I don't know if it, like, I've only driven through them like once just to buy like, I wasn't drinking and driving, but they had to.
Sure, Thomas, sure. It had a sign up front over the window, but it was really blurry, and I don't remember what it said.
Yeah. I couldn't read it because I was too drunk, but
No, that was in Texas, not Mexico, Thomas.
oh, okay. That was yeah.
But that's like, 20, 25 years ago. They finally did away with that.
Different states had different ages too at certain times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I lived in Delaware for a few years, and drinking age in Maryland was different, and it was close.
Yeah. A lot
They
of
had-
trips to Maryland.
They had liquor stores with names like State Line Liquors.
Yep.
Like 18 in some states and 21 in others.
It's like beer and wine at 20 in Maryland,
Oh wow.
21 in Delaware.
There are some states where you can buy beer and wine at 18,
Yeah.
and you have to be 20 or 21 for hard liquor. And
Wow.
there's a state, and I don't remember which one it is, there's a state down in the deep south where 16 is okay for beer, but you have to be, I think, 19 or 20 to buy hard liquor. But at 16, you can buy a six-pack of beer.
I'm a
Well,
firm believer
okay.
if you're old enough to serve in the military, you're old enough to drink.
There you go. If you can get shot at and killed, then you ought to be able to have a shot,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I also
most
know that-
military bases, on base, like in the enlisted men's club, if you were active duty, you can drink. But but your skipper would tell you, if you're going to go to the club and drink, and you're only 17 years old, if you're going to go to the club and drink, you do not leave the base. Period. Because
Yeah,
once out in town, then you're under the influence, and you might be driving to boot, But an awful lot of commanding officers did allow that for the same reason. If you can wear the uniform, you ought to. Hell, there's a state down there in the south, and I don't think it's the same state, but there's one of those states down there where you can buy beer 2 years before you can buy cigarettes.
Wow.
Wow.
I found out when I was much younger that if I wore my dad's Army uniform, and we had the same name, I could go into any bar and drink. And you could always tell the older guys who knew what was going on, because here's an 18-year-old kid in 1984 wearing a Vietnam era.
Yeah.
And they just smile, and it's like, yeah, we know what's going on.
Yeah. That Vietnam service ribbon will give you away every time, man.
Every single time.
That's funny. At least it wasn't Korea.
I could wear my grandpa's World War II fatigues. That would have been funny. European theater, huh? Oh, yeah. It was cold. Crap.
We're past the top of the hour. Have to call it a day.
A day.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Take care. Have a good day.
Take care, all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.